to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club.
Well, hello guys. Hello. This came across my desk a couple hours ago, but I was in the middle of paperwork and just needed a break. So I have decided to go ahead and run the story now. I'm not sure if you guys heard this, but this is atrocious. This is an international child pee ring that was brought to its knees by the state of Florida. Courteous, so we should be giving the state of Florida an applause, a huge round of applause. Not only were they able to shut this ring down, they were able to take an entire, web page down. Apparently, this has been going on all over the country. The details of this particular case that are just breaking out of the state of Florida are grotesque. I can't speak of it, but I'm allowed to play the press conferences from the press conferences, like what law enforcement says. And they keep things, consistent and concise, but it's still, even as vague as they are being about the gravity of this crime, it is still, you can connect the dots, and it is absolutely horrific, guys. This is related to our U.S. American missing children, missing and exploited children, our children. Some of our children that are on that missing and exploited website are some of the victims of this crime. And that is really hard to, deal with, because we always know that these types of horrific things, they truly go on overseas, hold on just a second, let me remove this. I think this is what's dragging my screen because nothing else should be. There we go. We will be going back and looking at the photos of these people clearer so you guys can see who they are. I'm not sure what is causing my drag right now. Hold on a second. I have to shut down other things. Does that help me? No, it's still a little slaggy, but we'll give it a few moments. Hopefully it'll shut that portion down. But this is our children, and they say it, hey, reality wins, happy birthday. Well, this is a great birthday gift. This is an amazing birthday gift, because we fight against child abuse. We fight our hardest against, exploitation of our children, trafficking, of the same. So this is going to be very difficult. But again, I'm going to put the caution out there, much like today, this morning. It is hard. Oh, thank you, Kristen 76. I stand with Britt. Yes, I agree with you. I as well. She doesn't deserve all the stuff that she's been going through. I'm 36 now. I was adopted when I was older because of my birth mother. Gotcha, M. Blanc. Such sad stuff. Well, this might not be something. This might bring back some memories. So you guys are in the true crime genre. The stuff that we see over here is not pretty. So if this is too traumatic for you guys to hear, listen, or watch, I'm going to ask you now's the time to leave the room, because it's not getting any better from here. We're about to hear some, it's a good day. I mean, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It is a good day. This is an international ring that has ties to Turkey as well as Ireland. Okay, so this is an international ring that was brought to its knees. There are many more, folks. There are many more. This is just one battle, not the war here, okay? So let's go ahead and get started on this. We're going to stop and chat a little bit about this. This is, in my opinion, huge. This might be related to some of our children that we've covered on this show. So please pass this information around. If people know these people, seen children with these people, please reach out to law enforcement. Doesn't matter which law enforcement you reach out to, just reach out to someone. I gotta get it right here.
Protecting our kids is not an easy task to begin with. And today, with the access to the internet and social media, it allows these sick predators to more easily get access to our kids. And as I've said, my first 5-6 weeks on the job here, that's going to be a major priority for my office. The individuals that are being busted today that purchase this harmful content, many of them found it through TikTok. It was available online. They found access to a portal where they could purchase this dangerous material.
TikTok is already on the hook for a lot. We all have, the ones of us that are on TikTok know how just, they don't allow people to say certain things or do certain things, right? They're so quick to shut us down, especially when it's political. They shut you down almost at a quickness. You're always in fear. If you're a political content creator on TikTok, you are always in fear of being kicked off permanently. Yet we have this is where these people were getting access to it. And he's going to bring up a valid point. And I'm sorry, but I'm disappointed. And in my opinion, as much as much of a risk as TikTok is, this should not be going on.
TikTok has shown they can very quickly get stuff off their website. If there's unlicensed music or something going around, they've proven and with a flip of a switch, they can get it off. And it's taken too long for them to get some of this pornographic material and avenues to purchase harder, more gross content. We've got to get them to be more accountable. So we will be working on that. We are going to hold social media companies accountable that want to put our families and our kids in jeopardy. So today, these 8 defendants are being charged with multiple felony counts, including Rico, money laundering, and purchase of child pornography. Again, I can't tell you in words how gross this content is, but it shows the dangers, the evil that's out there. It is truly evil. And you've got my word that in this state, we are going to do everything we can to hold these people accountable. If you are a child predator, if you are one of these sick people, then I hope you never see the sun again.
I'm right there with him. I got to tell you, right here, this is why I love the state of Florida. Listen, there's a lot of things about the state of Florida I do not like. Okay, there really are. I've lived here my entire life. I've lived in this county my entire life. I'm a generational in this county. I know, but Florida as a whole, you don't mess with our kids. If you mess with our children here in the state of Florida, you are in jeopardy of losing your life. We do not play, because you know why? It damages the children. It damages the children beyond repair. Many of them go to drugs when they have an opportunity, alcohol abuse when they have the opportunity. They can never have a normal relationship. They have, problems when they become adults and should not be having those types of problems in relationships. They end up going to drugs and crime. A lot of them, they do recover, they get better, but they have support systems. This damages, no matter how you look at it, this damages children beyond repair in a lot of cases. That's why we do not play when it comes to our kids. Our kids should be kids. Our kids should be kids, and we lead by example.
And I hope you certainly never have access to kids again. So we will continue that fight, and I want to give a very special thanks to Rita Peters from Statewide Prosecution for leading this fight. She's going to slap these guys around in the courtroom, and unfortunately, I'm figurative in that comment, but thankful to her, as well as investigator Abby George, who busted the case. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Mark Glass.
Thank you, General. Appreciate it.
This is going to be hard because he's going to explain how a lot of these things have happened. And again, this could be political. So if, something enrages you about his commentary, remember this is for the common good, whether we like to hear the information or not. This is the way the state of Florida is positioning themselves in this fight. And remember, this is international. This is not a state of Florida case. This is an international child pee ring.
I just want to say, first and foremost, General Uthmeier has stepped in and stepping up and stepping out. He is really allowing us to just move forward on these types of cases, these long-term cases, and continue on to get these evil, sick people behind bars. I want you to just take a look at that board over here with these folks. And it is just evil. The faces you see there are faces of evil. The general talked about, we can't even talk about what was on those films and what they had because it is that disturbing. More disturbing than you would see even in your movies, way more. It's evil. And the sad part about it, there's many more out there, just like these evil people. Many more, and we know it. And through the hard work and dedication.
This is a lady right here, a lady in Oregon. A lady in Oregon being a money mule. And there's some that look like a Hispanic descent, Indian descent, white, Caucasian. Another, you can see that there's there's all ethnicities here as part of this organization. So it's not one or the other. It's just evil people coming together to do evil things.
Multi-agencies, such as HSI or DHS, are task force agents for multiple agencies across this Tampa Bay area and the rest of the state. FDLE and our Office of Statewide Prosecution. We're able to get out there and get these evil people out of our society, put them where they belong, behind bars, answer to their crimes. I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a husband, and I'm your state of Florida commissioner on FDLE.
I believe that this is a new task force that they've been working on, a newer task force. I can't be 100 on that, but this is relatively new where our state of Florida are tackling these large cases. Like we have Grady Judd in Polk County, which does an amazing job for the state of Florida and things like that. But he's a county sheriff. This is the big cheddar of Florida. This is the big law enforcement, hand of Florida. And they do some, extensive cases, but I would have to imagine that this is by far one of their largest cases that they've brought forward in this area of crime. So it's not easy to accomplish, folks. He's going to go over how difficult it was to identify some of these people, but they weren't unidentifiable. That's my message out there to anybody that wants to do something like this to other children. You may think you're hidden, but when the state of Florida or the United States comes after you, no matter how protected you think you are with VPNs, and we've talked about this many times, you're not that protected. Those VPNs will not help you doing business in the United States. There is a mechanism that we can use to unearth those VPNs. Just stop. I think that needs to be our message to these sickos. Just stop. Stop preying on our children, our innocent children. Maybe some of you guys have been abused yourself. Why would you do that to somebody else? It's sick. It's sick. It's going to get rough with this guy.
And the stuff that these evil people did emboldens not only me, but the men and women behind me to go out and get more of people like this off our streets. This will not be tolerated in the state of Florida. And when I became the commissioner of FDLE, this is one of my highest priorities, is going after sexual predators, sex offenders, child molesters, deviants that do this kind of stuff to our children. Not just our children in the United States, we're talking about children all across the world. We would be remiss not to talk about why it was such important to shut down our border. Children that these evil people do these heinous things with came across our border. I was out there, and the people that looks like that's their mother, it's not their mother. They're just muling the kid. And with HSI out there looking up the unaccompanied minors, we're helping them, FDLE shouldering with them to try to find these children that were brought into our system to make sure they're safe. And we want to make sure that every one of these children were safe that came across that border, that are here in the United States, first and foremost.
It's crazy. Grave crime with grace, because I actually pulled that case myself. I was doing background, and I think that's the one. Remember, I had to just shut something down. It was kind of sticky on my end. Well, it's because I have another Google, I don't know what they call them, these things where you have the different tabs across the top. I have several of them open, and one of them was my research, and her name's Elena Barden. And I was doing my research because, one of the things I don't have the answer to, you might be able to answer. Did he unalive her husband, or is it just a solicitation? It looks like it's just a solicitation and her husband is okay. But the other thing is I don't see what her husband's name is anywhere. I see a man on the property records as Michael Barden, But when I do a search on him, he's like 49 years old and she's 20 something. Like, that's not that I get it. I can't complain. My husband was 10 years my senior. All right. Yeah, 10 years my senior. I had to make sure I was the junior because he's older than me. And, I get really, even me, I get a little weirded about the age stuff. I'm much different now. I probably would never marry somebody that old, that much older than me again, because, there's just things that you just don't have in common anymore. It might be fun when you're doing fun things, but after that, anyways, that was her husband is like 27 years old. Okay, so sure, I know she is, but I can't. If it's Michael, I'm interested in that. Because I can't. When I kept trying to to find her husband's name, I couldn't find it, and I realized that he's a victim of the crime. But that's what's leading me to believe that he's not deceased, because they won't post the victim of the crime in the news, which some type of law may prevent that, and that's perfectly fine. It will come out at some point later in the process, but that's with his name not being posted and me not finding any type of murder that happened. I believe that this was just a solicitation. She was teaching this kid in the juvenile detention. She started having an inappropriate relationship with him and trying to groom him to unalive her husband. And that was the whole purpose of it. Well, a correction officer in there ended up finding these inappropriate letters. And, that's how they found it. So I'm curious, did you hear whether or not he was deceased or alive? She's 27. My husband, I was 47 when I was 29. I get it too. Yeah, I was my husband was older than me when I got married. So it's like, I don't have a problem with it in some cases, but when you have things like this with unaliving, I've got to look at other I got to look at the whole thing. Was this an issue where they had an inappropriate relationship before the age of 18 and he ended up marrying her, to control her, kind of like JP Miller guy, one of those types of situations. So I look a little differently when cases come before our channel as opposed to just normal life, run of the mill. You're older or younger than your spouse or what have you. So it's much different. Izzy girl, you're not on my channel, so I don't have to worry about it. It seems like you guys have a happy marriage. But again, on a side note, when we do look at these cases, we have to look at all possibilities. And for her to unalive him, I know she's making the conscious effort to as opposed to divorcing him. And I always want to know the why, like the why would they choose to do this? Now, I'm not saying that it makes sense to the rest of us, but I like to know the why, the why factor, or at least try to find the why factor in all of this. And could it be she felt her life was over because of the damage she's done? You get it. You get it. We have to roll through those. Yes, I was wondering, did you see the picture of her and a man? Yes, I did. I did. And I'm assuming that that's her husband. And I've seen several of those photos. But I was unsure because it looks like he's significantly older. Was this, an arm candy? You got to look at that way too. Was this arm candy that turned bad? I'm just saying. Or that, or the father. I know that's why I'm very interested, because a father would be a co-signer on a home. You know what I'm saying? So I did see two names on the type, like the home, but I still feel like she's a Milby by maiden and a Barden by married, because the way some of her name is written, or her alias is she's used, Elaine Kathleen Milby, and she's used Elaine Milby Barden. So yeah, I'm confused with that one anyways. But yeah, I'm actually pulling stuff forward. I was going to run just do a video on it. But sometimes, especially when I'm crunched for time like I am now, I have to go live. So let's get back to this. Thank you. Thank you for that.
But ladies and gentlemen, make no disclaimer here for you. This is evil, and it will not be tolerated in the free state of Florida. I'll be followed up behind me by the Special Agent in Charge, Mark Brutnell, to give you a little bit more in depth about this case. Mark.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Attorney General, for both of your support and your leadership. I know the team really appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you for that. So I'm going to kind of get into a little bit of the weeds of this investigation, which to me, this is one of those career cases. This is one of those cases where you're going to look back 10 years from now and say, I made some change. It was a lot of hard work, and I'm glad I did it. And the results speak for themselves. So what happened was in July of 2024, our agents were working proactively on the internet, looking for individuals that like.
So they've set up a thing kind of like what Grady Judd set up back in the day, and now they have these investigators that their only job is to go into these chats that they've identified using a metric of some sort to identify, which chats probably are more prone. I don't know, again, their strategy, but I'd have to think they're not going in blind. They have some targeted areas already that they're trying to infiltrate.
To sell and distribute child pornography. And our agent found a chat room where he's speaking to an individual who directed him to a website called tributeprintedpics.com, which is on the internet. It's not the dark web, it's the straight internet. So our undercover agent went there and began a conversation with an unknown individual who wanted to sell him child pornography. At the end of the day, our agent purchased 6.7 terabytes of child pornography for $100. So I'm going to put that into context. That 6.7 terabytes is 1.2 million videos and pictures of some of the most egregious, disgusting content we've ever seen. My agent has done this for a long time, and he came to me after that purchase and having to view some of that stuff and said, boss, it was awful. It was awful. For him to say that, it had to be really bad. I've read the affidavits, and it makes me sick. So that's where the case really started off. So within a week after that, working with our Attorney General's office, FDLE and the Attorney General's office, we executed a seizure warrant on that website, tributeprintedpics.com.
So he's going to go in and say how other states have reached out to them and were unaware of how to shut this website down and got, yes, $100. And the website that no other state could shut it down, but the state of Florida shut it down. Shut it down. Now, this is one of many of these. This was not purchasable on the dark web. This was a normal run-of-the-mill website that was selling this stuff and using TikTok to funnel people over to it. It was a very organized business. Disgusting business, but a very organized business.
And we shut it down. We said, you're not selling that stuff on the internet. We shut it down. Within 2 days, several phone calls from law enforcement agencies all across the country, local, state, federal. Thank you guys for doing that. Thank you. A lot of them had active cases, and they could not figure out how to shut this website down. The state of Florida shut it down. So as the case progresses, we identify an individual from New Jersey, Krunalkumar Modi. We realized he was a money mule for this organization. Let me back up. In the midst of our undercover chat, we also were directed how to pay the $100 for this 1.2 million files. So we went up to New Jersey.
1.2 million. I want you guys to understand what 1.2 million, they're purchasing it for $100. I don't know if they're selling it to somebody, to third parties, but can you imagine having 1.2 million images of this horrible, horrible stuff? And it's now being shared and distributed to sickos? To sickos. That's what it's being distributed to. Sickos. Yes. For $100. Again, international. Remember, American money to us means a whole lot of money to other places. And if they're selling this for $100 and being profitable, think of how many people are purchasing this stuff from them. It's quite alarming. It's quite problematic.
Working with those authorities in New Jersey, we executed a search warrant at his residence, an arrest warrant, and with all of his electronics, we did a very thorough scrub of his electronics, which produced a treasure trove of evidence. This is where the case really started to take off. We were able to identify an individual by the name of John DeVille. Clearly, that was an alias. We knew that at the time, but John DeVille and Mr. Modi had over 500 transactions. So that's the volume of transactions of this CSAM that they were distributing and selling. Knowing that was clearly an alias, that was when the case really took off. That's when our primary goal was to find out who John was. As a part of this investigation, we were able to identify 7 people in Florida that had purchased this material from John through Modi. And those customers were identified as Brett Ryan Moore from Orange City, Michael Andrew Warden from Kissimmee, Jacob Ross Conley from Fern Park, Cody Vance Jordan Muti from Palm Bay, and Israel Cole Thomas from Lakeland. Now there's 2 customers up here on this board that I'm going to just kind of talk about them briefly. The first one is Frankie Pinero Jr. He is from Groveland, Florida. This individual was listed as a sex offender. He was currently on probation from a child pornography arrest that our office in Orlando did in 2019.
2019. Already convicted of something similar. and he got a slap on the wrist as courtesy of Florida, of all places. But again, Florida, we are law and order, and we realize our children are prey, and we have made strides, and I mean strides, since 2019 to protect our children.
He got a very light slap on the wrist for that case, and he was also sentenced to 20 years of probation. We know he bought a large amount of this disgusting material from our guy John, and it was on his phone.
Melanie.
So I'm pretty confident, and you'll hear from Rita here in a minute, he's not getting probation on this one. There's no doubt about that. Our second individual was a guy named Brett Allen Snodderly from Clearwater. Again, we know he purchased this material from John. During a search warrant at his residence, we found children's underwear at the residence. Now, we did our due diligence. We're positive he's not a hands-on offender, but obviously great cause for concern. His phone, which was very tech savvy, we had to bring it back to the office, get into it with a search warrant, proper legal service, which we did. Ultimately, you guess it, lots of cease.
I like the way he said that. Hands-on offendant, hands-off offendant. This is something I see some content creators in the chat right now. So you'll want to maybe start using some of that terminology, because I'm pretty sure this, you're going to need to take the child, make it child pee. But this is news. This is the press conference. I'm not going to alter the press conference for the sake of YouTube or the sake of my audience. We're going to play the press conference as it's written. Melanie, thank you for gifting a Bullhorn Betty membership. If you received your Bullhorn Betty gifted membership, don't forget to tell our beautiful Melanie thank you. And also say a prayer for Melanie and anybody else that's suffering with something, right? We all have things going on in our life. So we all are family. So we pray for one another, and God moves mountains for all of us. So please keep her also in your prayers. This home of the free, unfortunately, freedom, that means free to do evil. In some cases, that is the case. Some cases. And whoever received that Bullhorn Betty membership, welcome to this crazy family we call the Coffee Club, i.e. the Insane Asylum. Grab your straitjacket in your padded room and welcome aboard.
Sam on the phone. So about 7 days later, we get an arrest warrant. We have Clearwater PD go pick up Mr. Snarley. And when they do, what does he have? He has a new phone with even more child pornography on the phone. I mean, I don't know what to do at this point. You can't fix that, right? So this guy, we have his phone within a week, a new phone, more child pornography.
So serial child pee people here, because this was a business. This was an organized crime.
As the investigation continues, we're always searching for John. We identify through HSI another money mule, Exima McQuaida from Portland, Oregon. She was a facilitator for the sale of this disgusting material. She has a current arrest warrant now for money laundering. We also identified suspects in Canada and Ireland, and we're working with HSI in that regard. So finally, after almost a year of diligent work, 140 subpoenas, 20 search warrants, endless hours of analysis. You see this chart here. That's kind of a way to break down the spider web that we had to sift our way through and figure out who's who here. We were able to identify John DeVille as Mehmet Bozayuk from Adana, Turkey. Mr. Mehmet was very deliberate in hiding his identity. He utilized multiple layers of VPNs, money mules, obviously, burner account.
Multiple layers of VPNs. Did you guys hear that? Multiple layers of VPNs. I've stressed that on this channel many, many times, because people think that if they use a VPN, they're safe. If you're sitting in America, no, you're not.
Burner phones. He also used a lot of stolen personal identification information that he would steal off the web to send money through different channels. He really, really believed that he could outsmart us, but at the end of the day, he didn't. He tried to profit on this horrific abuse of children, but we caught him. A little back story on Mr. Mehmet. He's married with 2 kids, and this is his way of making money. We currently have an arrest warrant for him in the system. We are talking with HSI, our partners at HSI, to try to get him extradited to Florida, and I hope we can pull that off because he will be held accountable here in Florida, no doubt about it. An excellent case, the teamwork. Again, as a father, like everyone has mentioned before, I was amazed at these guys, the way their dogged pursuit of him. Again, it's one of those cases where you're going to look back when you're over with this career and say, I made a difference. That's just one network. I'm sure there's several more out there that we are actively going to target as well. So with that, I'm going to bring up ASAC McCombs from HSI to talk about their role in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, SAC Brutnell. It's a great honor to be here today to speak with you all on this case, and most importantly, our great collaboration with the state of Florida and its partners. No finer partners to have than partners at the state of Florida. FDLE is a tremendous, tremendous partner for us, and the citizens of Florida should be proud for the level of investigative effort that went into this investigation to keeping all of our families safe, to include my own. HSI has 90 offices in 56 countries all around the world, and a number of them were utilized in this investigation to uncover this network. Oftentimes we will bring these investigations to the state, but this one was the reverse. They brought us in on this investigation. We're very thankful for that. It's a great partnership when the federal government and the state government can combine resources and leave no stone unturned worldwide to uncover massive amounts of child pornography at a low global systemic level, and one that we're going to work very hard to dismantle. We will not stop in pursuing these investigations. We can't stop, and the level and brutality of these images are sickening, and I've seen a lot. I just want to thank the investigators on this investigation, some of the best that I've seen, the financial analysis, some of the best that I've seen in my 28 years of federal law enforcement, and very, very proud to be a part of this investigative team. And I also want to thank my investigators at Homeland Security Investigations in Tampa. Thank you.
Good morning. By way of reintroduction, excuse me, my name is Rita Peters, and I have the pleasure of serving under as Attorney General James Uthmeier at the Office of Statewide Prosecution. I specialize in matters involving human trafficking, sex crimes, child exploitation, and I have been doing that for about 26 years. And to say that the images and videos that I observed in this case were the most horrendous is an understatement. In July 2024, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement contacted me to assist in an investigation regarding a sale of images of child exploitation, child sexual abuse material. We learned that for $100, they were able to obtain links that led them to over 1 million videos of children involved in some of the most heinous types of sexual brutality that I have ever seen. Brutality that involved infants, necrophilia, brutal sexual battery, and molestation. These horrific pictures and videos capture real, identifiable children whose names are in the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. These children have been identified series within that directory. They are victims of human trafficking. They're also victims of sexual battery and a plethora of other crimes. And these kids are from the United States. We began by sending subpoenas to multiple companies to start the paper trail and see where we were going. That was followed up with search warrants to various financial entities, as well as online communication applications. And then we kept following that paper trail until we finally learned the identity of our main distributor, Mehmet from Turkey. Through our past investigative experiences and information that we were able to obtain in the early stages of our investigation, we determined that the vehicle that was used by Mehmet was tributeprintedpics.com. And very quickly, we shut that down. We seized that website, and FDLE was able to shut it down. And as you've heard, multiple agencies, we actually heard from global agencies, England as well, that they thanked us for shutting that website down because it had been such a source of a problem. Through the following steps, we isolated the individuals that you see on that board who took part in not only the distribution by Mr. Mehmet, but also the purchase of all of these images. It is because of that desire to see children being brutally raped, the demand for that this was possible. In addition, we learned that Mr. Boziuk Mehmet also employed identification from other individuals stolen on the dark web to use their financial resources or their financial accounts to obtain funds from buyers to also sell this child pornography. We spoke to 2 of those individuals who had no idea that their financial accounts had been utilized for that purpose, one of whom was in Canada that broke down. He filtered money through these accounts just so that he can enrich himself through the sale of child pornography. These individuals have all been charged in Hillsborough County Court. Krunalkumar Nareshbhai Modi from New Jersey is facing a 65-year sentence for Rico or racketeering, conspiracy to racketeer, and money laundering. Frankie Pinero Jr., who also faced child pornography charges in the 9th Judicial Circuit, is charged with conspiracy to commit RICO, purchase of child pornography, and use of a 2-way communication device to commit a felony, 40 years, Florida State Prison. And a side note, Mr. Pinero was charged by our Office of Statewide Prosecution through the Orlando Bureau with the additional child pornography that we obtained off of the electronic items, and he has pled and received a 35-year sentence on that one. So it's just a matter of days before we have him in our jurisdiction. We have Brett Ryan Moore, also charged with conspiracy to commit RICO, purchase of child pornography, and use of a 2-way communication device. Again, 40-year sentence. Israel Cole Thompson, conspiracy to commit RICO, purchase of child pornography, and use of a 2-way communication device, 40 years. Brett Allen Snodderly, similarly, 40 years. Jacob Ross Conley, 40 years. Cody Vance Jordan Muti, 40 years. Michael Warren, 40 years. And then ultimately we will have Mehmet and also Jimena from Oregon. They will be charged. Mr. Mehmet Boziuk will have a whole host of charges, and his exposure will be well over 400 years in Florida State Prison. It was a pleasure to do this investigation. This was hands down just good old-fashioned police work, and that's what it was. It was a partnership. We made ourselves available at all hours, every day, as did every other agency, because it was about saving those children and making sure that we would take this element off of the street. And we look forward to prosecuting these individuals. We look forward to bringing Mr. Boziuk back from Turkey so that he can be answerable to our courts and receive the sentence that he so richly deserves. Thank you.
You did hear that right. They are actually working to extradite the man from Turkey to answer for the crimes he's done in the United States, even though he most likely has never stepped foot on the United States. The state of Florida is pulling out all the stops for this case. I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. It is a step forward. Lots of work to be done. I wish more states were on board with stuff like this. We're starting to see some things coming out of, believe it or not, Tennessee. Just recently, Tennessee had this network of people, and they found, I don't know, what was it, like 80 of their missing children or something to that effect. Again, it's always welcome, but it shouldn't have taken this long to implement, in my opinion. We should be being more proactive. Our children are prey right now. There is some sick, twisted thing going across this world that has been going across this world that people have been hush-hush about for a really long time. Well, people are starting to open up their eyes since the days of Epstein. We realize that there is this market. And then we see some of these paintings that were from this Crete painter. And it really gives us a gravity to what is going on, not only in this country, but across this world when it comes to children and the exploitation of those children. A lot of countries do not have the same laws as the United States, but we will be damned if we're going to let these evil predators infiltrate the United States and go unchecked. They're doing everything they can. This is going to be a great step in the right direction. I hope other states use this, whatever they're doing strategically, to get another person from another country to the United States to answer for these is going to open up a lot of ability for our country and other states to do the same thing if they find a network like this in their state. This one happens to be in our state. A big step forward, huge step forward.
Thank you, Rita. Parents and families at home can rest assured knowing Rita's here fighting.
There was one other question that I wanted to answer, but I forgot to. Hold on. I know it was right here. It was Lisa C. Lisa C said web was not immune. They just used stolen identity to purchase it from their customers. Well, that's not it. The dark web really wasn't used here. It may have been used to get some people's personal data to set up bank accounts for the actual laundering of the money. These people used a normal website, not on the black, the dark web, and they kind of, I guess, advertise to people on TikTok is the way I'm understanding it.
In the fight and keeping our kids safe. With that, we'll open it up if there's any questions.
Do you have Mr. Bazook in custody in Turkey, or is he currently at large? And is there an avenue to extradite him here?
He is not currently in custody. We are working to get him. We'd like to extradite him over here and hold him accountable here, if at all possible. So we'll be working hard on that.
Will the government of Turkey cooperate with that?
I think some conversations have begun, but I can't really share much more than that unless somebody else has something to add. No.
So the low-level offenders, we typically see a lot of arrests. I'm sure judges have a lot of success in that. But this seems to stretch a lot further, and you've gotten into the upper echelons of this terrific network. Can you talk about how meaningful that is to you?
Yeah, cases like this are tough. There's tons of these sick guys out there. There are, and you can stumble upon to a guy purchasing something here, there, and then you got kind of the tough decision. You want to get these perverts off the street right away, but you also can see, well, there's more to be had here. So
what I can say is that there are a lot of sickos, not just in the state of Florida. I have a search, and even this one, the reason why I chose to run this one, this is going to be flagged by YouTube. There, it will stay up, but that's about it, because nobody likes talking about these sensitive topics when it comes to our children. But I really don't care. This is a great strive to something good. When we go through our daily news, breaking news updates, which I still check on a daily, even though we're not going live, but it's because I just don't have the time right now to go live. And every single day, I do a 24-hour news gathering. So it's only for 24-hour intervals. And it is filled up 3 or 4 pages coming from almost every single state across the United States is typically in this grab. And again, these are stories that are happening every 24 hours. It is disgusting. And I can't play them on or discuss them on YouTube because it'll demonetize the channel. But there are a few or demonetize that live. But there are a few that I'm willing to do that on. And this is one because I am so pleased with the state of Florida. And I want more people more states to do these types of things to help protect our children. This was huge. Every state should be doing this. Every single state.
Is there more than what's on this board? Possibly, but we're at a point now where we've cracked the large international nature of this ring. Where we got to get these people in and hold them accountable. We'll keep looking. We'll keep investigating on the peripheries here, see who else might fall under our authority. But you know, you've hit on the tough spot. How hard do you keep investigating versus getting dangerous people off the streets? And then we were at a point here where we felt like we had to bust these guys. We'll keep working on it, but I think we've learned a lot through this investigation that's going to help us as we try to expose and prosecute the larger international efforts here that harm kids.
We've heard a couple of, you mentioned it was a career case or one that you never forget. Is that because it went international because of the amount of images or videos, what was on it? Like what kind of made it one that stands out from all the others?
I think you hit on both of it. The international element, the fact that you had this guy in Turkey working with, you know, a couple people over here to disseminate this largely. And then, yeah, the volume was tremendous. And then, I mean, the content, you know, these kids in the videos are being abused again and again. And then to have this content sold and distributed where that victimization continues to occur every single day, just made this, you know, a mammoth case of evil. And for our investigator to stumble upon it and to be able to bust it is very meaningful for the state, for the country, really for the world.
And would you mind?
Yeah, come on.
If I could just add one thing to your question there. I think a couple of things make this the career case. To me, the saturation of this stuff on the internet is very concerning. $100 got you 1.2 million videos.
Yeah.
That's a big issue, a bigger issue, obviously. But as we targeted our Florida folks, make no mistake, we have a bunch of evidence of individuals around the country. And those leads are going out to other law enforcement agencies across the country. We just focused on Florida first, but
Wow, we're not done yet. They're going out. They've got the whole network. So they're sending out arrest warrants and subpoenas to other states or sending these over to leads to other states. And if you guys don't understand the lead, it means they add a lot of information and they send it over to certain states and counties to handle their prosecution, so we're not all saddled with the cost of it.
That had a large-scale international and national network, and we have those folks identified, and those leads are going out. Make no mistake, there'll be more arrests off this. This case is tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
I can't hear the questions. I'm sorry, guys. We'll only hear his answer.
Yes, sir, not as of yet, but we were able to identify several series of this downloads that have been identified from NCMEC as that, which is also concerning, but also new ones, which we had never seen before. So there was a lot of videos. I mean, again, I go back to when they told me $100 got me 1.2 million. I just, what are we doing? I mean, that's very concerning.
Are you guys able to walk us through sort of this spider web? Is that the hierarchy of power of this ring, or is that sort of like your stats, or just sort of what are we looking at on that?
That is just the depths at which Mehmet covered his tracks. Those are the ways he tried to stay away from his business by using burner phones, burner accounts, stealing uninvolved people's identification and using them as money mules, unbeknownst to them. That
is obviously an intricate network. And I bet you a lot of this little lines going down to these circles are unidentified individuals that they're not willing to identify. This is a huge network. Look at that. That's just, it's surreal. It is surreal that our children are being served up like entrees to these sick, twisted people. I mean, this child P had to come from somewhere, you know, maybe a more hands-on offender. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Rita said, we spoke to an individual in Canada who had no idea that this guy was using his stuff to facilitate his international child pornography ring. He was very, very slick. Not anymore, though, but he was.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I'll ask a question. What are some things that you can encourage families and parents to prevent or to keep their children perhaps away from getting caught up in this kind of web?
Sure.
Preventions, different things that.
Yeah, the first thing, if you are not going and looking at social media and what's out there, you need to. And I'm not telling you, go look for porn, but you can see it is not hard to find it on publicly available social media websites like TikTok.
Wow.
As I said before, we're going to be cracking down. They got to get that stuff off of there. But the access, people,
Remember, guys, remember Savannah Soto and Matthew Guerra? They were selling heavy narcotics on Instagram. They had a shop for illegal purposes on Instagram and Telegram. So I find it awfully funny that these social media organizations, because I work on them, if you say the wrong thing, boy, it gets you. But somehow it's too ignorant to find these things and shut them down. I mean, at what point are we going to say that some social medias allow this stuff to go on? Allows this stuff to go on. Because if I say one thing wrong, they can, take the video, ban me off these social media apps, right, for saying a word. And they're selling child pee with not so much as a peep from social media? Come on, guys. We've got to be smarter than that. Something else, it seems like it's an intentional mistake not to catch these. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. Why? Because we know how quick these algorithms and these bots and these things that monitor all this stuff works. How can they not be plugging certain keywords in there that they know means something more? Or put the context in the system so it can grab the context of the system or of the statement. I don't know. I just think that we're hearing this. This is not the first time we've heard social media being used. It's concerning. It's very, very concerning. Aw, hey, well, welcome, Tracy.
They're skilled. They impersonate others, and they try to lure kids in. So if you're teenagers, if you're young people, if they have access to social media, you should be all over that.
Yes.
The legislature passed a great bill a year ago where young kids cannot have access without parental consent, without parental involvement. We're litigating that law right now, and I think it's going to end up in the right way. It's the right thing to do. But you need to be having those conversations with your kids. You need to be exercising controls where you can, if you even want to let your kids have some of this information. I know those are difficult decisions. That's for you as a parent, and for every parent, it's going to be a little bit different.
If your child isn't telling you that they hate you and you're the worst parent in the world, you're not doing the job. Okay? We're not friends with our young children. Why? Because we live in a different world than we lived in when we were growing up. Okay? We're living in a world where there is evil. We see it on this platform every single day, the types of evil that are out there for us as well as our children. But our children are most vulnerable. Why? Because we as adults see it. We take precautions for ourselves. Our children still feel like they're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. They don't think anything's going to happen to them. So we have to worry for them. So it's time to start. If you have teenage kids, no matter how you like it, kids lie. Even if you don't think your child's lied to you, I guarantee they most likely have. And this goes for the straight A students all the way down to the D's and F's, okay? It's just part of life. We have experience. We learn new things. Some people, I can guarantee every person has lied in their life. You can't take their word for it. You have to be a parent and do some fact finding, which is what we do for our cases, right? We fact find. If you don't want your child to be a fact finding case, then fact find for them before they become the case. If they're doing something they're not supposed to do, explain to them, show them if you must, show them the dangers, show them these cases. Do they want to be like that? Of course not. When they see it black and white, they'll be more cautious. If they keep violating the rules, it's time for them to be held accountable. Time for them to go a couple days without electronics and hate you even more, right?
But I cannot say enough to scare you about how dangerous social media is for young people right now. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add.
Thank you, sir. Also, when you move somewhere or you're living in a neighborhood, FDLE has a website for you to take a look at, and these clowns are already on it. So now I'm gonna call them clowns because they're clowns. They're already on it. So know what's in your neighborhood. Know what's in your neighborhood. Know who your kids are going over to whose house. Know what's going on. Be parentally involved. Do not let the government parent your kids.
Amen.
Because the government cannot parent your kids. We can uphold the law, pursue the law, and protect you in that manner. But you as a parent have to be involved with your children at all costs. This is also solid in knowing who's coming in your home, whether it be contractual services, whether you have maids, where you have you got some work done on your house. Know who you're contracting with. And then we have many websites within the state of Florida, from everything from seeing if it's a reputable company. We already doing you can check the reputable company and knowing who's coming to your house. You can ask the person who's contracting, who's coming to my house, what's their name. You can go online and check it yourself. I recommend a lot of people do that. A lot of people don't do that because they're afraid they'll offend somebody. Trust me, go ahead and offend them, because if they're offended, then there's a problem.
Amen to that. We know that just from our experience here on YouTube, don't we? It's awfully funny, the ones that get offended for searching for a child, right? Why? Makes you wonder. I don't mind offending people. You shouldn't mind offending people. We're in a world where we don't know who our neighbors are. And moreover, we may see our neighbors every day and still have no clue what goes on behind their closed doors. We live in a scary environment with people that have just changed. They're no longer neighborly. They're no longer kind. People want to tear your head off for stupid crap like who you vote for or what you drive. I mean, they want to cause you physical and financial harm because of inanimate objects, as well as what you have. It's the most crazy, and everybody's allowed to have an opinion except you, don't you know? Right? So we're just living in a very strange environment where everybody has to be cautious, because sane is now insane and the insane is now sane. And that is the biggest problem for me. I have never seen so much lunacy in the world before. But we are literally experiencing a lot of lunacy across our country. And that you should not be trying to subject your children to. Just an opinion.
Because if I had a business and you were checking to see what contractors coming in my house, I'm gonna say, yeah, it's John Q. Smith, it's Joe Citizen. That's who's coming here, and and we do background checks in our systems and everything too. Please do yours too. If you see anything, please let us know, because then I would get you off my rolls as an employee. If you're a reputable company, you will do that. If you're not, you're just going to go grab anybody that's there. Remember, a lot of these folks, when they go down this pathway, do not have, they can't get certain jobs because, you won't pass your background in around children or in around people. So they go to these type of things. So just pay attention to who's coming to your house and who's in the area. So.
Anything else? Go to the order. Yeah, I'll close by saying two things. One, one of these individuals was on a lighter probation sentence by the state attorney over in Orlando. Just another example of, the dangers that can be out there when you have people that want to go soft on crime. Mm-hmm. So our office is going to be looking at that individual, her conduct going forward. We want to make sure that we are enforcing rule of law. We are upholding the duties that, oaths are sworn to in the Constitution, and that we are keeping the streets as safe as we can. And then the second thing I'll say, again, to echo, this was a great team operation. We got a great thing going here in Florida. Our state law enforcement, the AG's office, Homeland Security, and our federal partners, we're working well together, to advance public safety and rule of law. Our state law enforcement officers, they need a raise, a big one. The governor's proposed it. I've been screaming from the hilltop, and hopefully our legislature will come through this year and deliver. It's getting more expensive to live in Florida, as everybody knows, and we're all dealing with that. But these public servants that put their lives on the line every day, it's tough on them. We got to have their backs and help them to be successful. So,
amen. Fund your law enforcement, because you know what? It's not for the little minor car accidents or, the petty theft. You fund your law enforcement for when you need your law enforcement, when there's a large case, when you need a lot of resources. That's why you fund your law enforcement. Whenever you take money from your law enforcement, you remove initiatives like the one that you just saw, where a whole entire international ring of child predators that solicit and make it sounds like there's, so far it's just been solicitation. It doesn't seem like some of these, but they said these victims were part of the United States. There are United States children from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That really scares me. That really scares me. We as a true crime community need to be doing more. Even myself, I don't really take a lot of runaway teens on my show. I'm finding that there most likely is a need to take these on my show. And I've also been advocating. We just had an 18-year-old. She's not a teen. Well, she is a teen, but she's an adult teen. Go missing from my community. So I'd like if you guys could go to my X account and share that post around. I think I might have posted it on Facebook as well. If you can, just pass it around, people, because that's what it's all about, getting these faces and names out. Because if this person, did run away with a bad person, and they're out there on the streets and somebody sees them, somebody can help them, even when they can't help themselves. And that's what we need to be doing. Just remember, I know, Lisa, you're saying like smarten up, parents, and a lot of parents are smartening up, but there are just a lot of parents out there that don't really care. And we have to remember that. There's a lot of these children that wind up in these situations because their parents are addicts or abusive or, alcoholics. They're not coming, they're dealing with a lot of different types of abuse, some that might be S-related. But each person has their story. And I always believe that, children by nature, they get mad. They may run away from home, even with good parents, right? But we've got to protect our children. But we also have to remember we've got to love these children as well, because they may come from a home where there is no love. The only way that they're going to be found is because of our help. The only way that they're going to be advocated for is because of us, not because of the people that should be. And we have to remember that. So if you guys see something, say something. Keep looking at your local missing persons, all of them. You never know. You might be in a store. You might be able to help somebody. You might be able to save a life. Be vigilant, folks. I love you. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now I got to get back to work. So I'll see you guys soon. I'll try to research. I'm working on another research, but I don't have the time to delegate to it just right now. So we are going to be monitoring that teacher that had tried to groom with a G the juvenile delinquent that was sitting in juvenile detention. And this is in Aiken or Aden or something like that county. It's in Kentucky. It's just, it's bad. But I'm just trying to find out who the husband is, because I just want to see who he is, but it doesn't look like that information has been released yet. So if you guys see it released anytime, it's related to Elena, 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 Barden, BARDIN, Barden, Elena Barden. If you guys see any more information, send that over to me at bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Don't forget to hit your thumbs up on the way out. Thank you for being here. I think this is huge. I hope other content creators reference this case. Don't run it like I did. but just reference it and you can go over it. And just remember, we have hands-on offenders and hands-off offenders. Okay, hands-off offenders are dealing with just the photos. Hands-on offenders are the ones creating the photos. So let's start using proper terminology so we don't get kicked on here. But I was willing to take the hit today to get this story out there. So please, please, please get this story out there. Be cautious how you explain it. Keep the child P at child P. R is R. Broom, is with a G. We can talk about these things. Just be cautious how you speak of them. All right, guys. God bless. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. We'll see you soon.